Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So the next companion we're looking at and highlighting today is none other than Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu, a phenomenal individual. Think about it, picture this, a young lad, a teenager, speaking to an elderly man, a person whose name is Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu in Medina, and is asking, Abdullah ibn Abbas is asking Salman Al Farsi radiallahu anhu, share with us your journey that you undertook to come to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Salman Farsi starts the conversation by saying, "My father was the high priest. My father was in charge of the Persian Subhanallah. My father was the high priest, and everyone would used to come to his house to worship the fire. We were Zoroastrians." His journey starts from there. He talks about the Roman Empire, he talks about the Persian Empire, who were always warring with one another for over 700 years. It's only when the Prophet comes, subhanAllah, that's when they come to an end. And he says that we were always warring with the Romans. He says, I had to start my journey from there. I was like a slave girl, he says, and I was incarcerated. I was imprisoned in my own palace. I couldn't go anywhere. My father was too scared, subhanallah. And I had a privileged life. However, my father did not want me to get access to any other religion. It was all about Zoroastrianism. It was all about being a Majusi, subhanallah. Eventually, one day, my father got too busy with his gardens and he asked me if I could go out there and help and support him. Lo and behold, I make my way out there, subhanallah, and without knowing, I get lost. I've never been outside, subhanallah, and I come across a church. And from the church, when I enter, I realize the beauty, the serenity, the peace. He says, my father was searching for me the entire day. When he finally finds me, I look at him and I say that, oh, my father, their religion is better than our religion. They're prostrating. They're doing so many things which are much better than ours. We should be looking at that. He says, my father imprisoned me. Eventually, one of the servants that was in our house, I had a conversation with him, and I asked him that when the people of Sham, Sham come over here, then let me know. I will make my way to Sham. This is where his journey begins. He starts from Persia, makes his way all the way to Damascus. From Damascus, he meets a priest there. From there, he meets the next one. Every single one of them passing away, one after the other. From Damascus, he goes to Iraq, Mosul. From Iraq, he goes to Nusaybin, Turkey. From there to Amuriya, and then back to Dimashq, subhanallah. And this is when the final priest tells him that there's no one on the planet who has the right religion as myself. Now you need to go to the lands of Arab. When you get there, you'll find a person that will be coming, a prophet that is about to come. Three signs. Number one, this person does not accept sadaqah, charity. Number two, this person only accepts hadiyah, gifts. And number three, he'll have the seal of prophethood on the back. Subhanallah, he starts his journey towards the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Banu Kalb came. Subhanallah, what they do, they capture him, they imprison him. Subhanallah, he comes all the way to Wad al-Qurra, outskirts of Medina, and he says, I became a slave. 13 different masters for the next so many years, subhanallah, decades. He says, I go from one master to the other, subhanallah. Eventually, he hears about the Prophet ﷺ coming to Medina. He makes his way to Medina, subhanallah, and he finds out that, you know what, subhanallah, the Prophet ﷺ is in the outskirts of Medina, and what he does, he says, I took a day off, I took some goods, I sold it, I got some dates, and I went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Can you imagine his journey starting, seeing the Prophet alaihi wasallam? He says, I gave him some dates. The Prophet ﷺ took these dates, and he was being told that this is sadaqah, charity. I took the dates, and the Prophet ﷺ took the dates, and he gave it to all his companions. He did not take one of them, subhanallah. The next day, I did the same thing. After a while, I asked my master if I could take a day off. I took another day off. I went to the Prophet ﷺ with some more dates, and I gave it to him. I said, this is hadiyah, gift, ya Rasulullah. He says, everyone sat down. The Prophet ﷺ sat down, and they all ate together, and he also partook in that meal. The third sign was, subhanallah, the seal of prophethood. He says, I was tricked by so many of these priests that I did not want to fall into the wrong hand of a wrong person, a wicked person, someone that is wretched, subhanallah. I had to take all precautions. I wanted to see the seal of prophethood. Lo and behold, it was only when the companion As'ad bin Zurara, subhanallah, who passes away, the Prophet ﷺ makes his way into the grave and he brings As'ad bin Zurara down. At that time, I was trying to check and see the sign of prophethood. He says that I noticed that I couldn't, he said I couldn't see it, but the Prophet ﷺ noticed me looking and he realized that I was looking. That's when he removed it and he says, I saw the seal of prophethood and I jumped on the Prophet ﷺ and I grabbed hold of the Prophet ﷺ and I started kissing the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ asked me, yeah, Salman, share with us your story. And he starts sharing the whole story to the Prophet ﷺ. This was the beginning of his journey. We know because we know in the Battle of Trench, subhanallah, that it's because of him we have the trench. He had experience with the Romans and the Persians. They had done something similar previously. And because of that, the Muslims finally win against the Quraysh. Quraysh, no more battles against the Quraysh, no more expeditions. This was the last one, subhanallah. This was due to Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu. Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu eventually, years later, makes his way back to Persia, and that's when they conquer that side, subhanallah. That's for another day. Fall in love with Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu, a phenomenal individual. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.